I'm Agent Sarah Collins, 35, and at our family reunion last weekend, my sister Jennifer spent 3 hours loudly mocking my boring government job and telling everyone I was just another federal bureaucrat pushing papers. What she didn't know was that my desk job was actually leading the Presidential Protection Detail for the Secret Service, and when Air Force One descended from the sky with the president aboard to personally thank me for saving his life during an assassination attempt, Jennifer's face went white as 200 family members realized the failure she'd been humiliating was one of the most elite federal agents in American history. Think you can predict how mocking a Secret Service agent ends when the president arrives? Hit that like button if you believe respect should come before you understand someone's full story. Subscribe for more incredible government service revelations. And let's dive into how sometimes the family member everyone underestimates is protecting the most important person in the world. Living as a Secret Service agent while maintaining normal family relationships required a level of compartmentalization that most people couldn't comprehend. My work protecting the President of the United States involved classified operations, life-and-death decisions, and security protocols that had to remain completely separate from my personal life and family interactions. To my family, I was simply Sarah, the older sister who'd joined some kind of federal law enforcement after college and seemed to spend most of her time traveling for work that she couldn't discuss in detail. They knew I worked for government security, but assumed it was routine federal employment rather than understanding that I was part of the most elite protective service in the world. My younger sister Jennifer had followed a more traditional path that our family found easier to understand and celebrate. After earning an MBA, she'd launched a successful marketing consulting business that generated impressive revenue while providing the kind of professional recognition and social status that made her the family success story. Jennifer has built an amazing business from nothing, our parents would say during family gatherings, usually while I was present, but the conversation focused on Jennifer's entrepreneurial achievements and growing client base. She's created jobs, developed innovative marketing strategies, and built relationships with major corporate clients who recognize her expertise and creativity. The contrast was always implicit but clear. Jennifer was building something visible and impressive that contributed to economic growth and business success, while my government job seemed to involve routine tasks that didn't warrant detailed discussion or generate interesting conversation. Sarah does something with federal security, our father would explain to relatives who asked about my work, his tone suggesting that while my job was probably necessary, it wasn't the kind of achievement that reflected well on our family's professional success or social standing. The irony was devastating because my actual responsibilities included protecting the most powerful person in the world, coordinating with international security agencies, and making split-second decisions that could affect national security and global political stability. But the classification requirements of Secret Service work meant that family members couldn't know about threat assessments, protective operations, or the scope of authority and responsibility that came with leading the Presidential Protection Detail. Jennifer's attitude toward my government career was particularly dismissive, reflecting private sector assumptions about federal employment being less challenging, competitive, and rewarding than entrepreneurial business success. Government jobs are perfect for people who want security and predictability instead of real professional challenges, Jennifer would say during family conversations about our respective careers. Sarah chose stability over opportunity, which is fine for some people, but I needed work that would let me build something significant and create real value. The characterization of federal service as choosing stability over opportunity revealed Jennifer's complete ignorance about what Secret Service work involved, particularly the constant danger, unpredictable schedule, and enormous professional responsibility that defined protective operations. Sarah will always have job security and decent benefits, she'd continue, apparently believing that government employment was essentially welfare for people who couldn't succeed in competitive private markets. But she'll never have the satisfaction of building something herself, or achieving the kind of success that comes from taking real risks and creating real value. The suggestion that protecting the president didn't involve real risks or create real value was particularly offensive to someone whose daily responsibilities included literally putting my life on the line to protect democratic institutions and ensure continuity of government. But the most painful aspect of Jennifer's dismissive attitude wasn't her misunderstanding of government service. It was her assumption that business success was inherently more valuable and impressive than public service, regardless of level, responsibility, or national importance. Family gatherings consistently focused on Jennifer's business victories, her client acquisitions, and her growing professional reputation, while my government career was acknowledged briefly before conversations returned to topics the family found more interesting and relatable. The dynamic became more problematic as Jennifer's business success grew, and her sense of superiority over my routine government employment became more pronounced and publicly expressed. "I'm grateful that people like Sarah are willing to do necessary government work," she would announce to extended family and family friends, using the tone of someone expressing charity toward less ambitious relatives. Not everyone can handle the pressure and uncertainty of building their own business, and government jobs provide important services for people who prefer structured employment with guaranteed salaries. The condescending appreciation for my willingness to do government work, as if it was some kind of public service rather than elite federal law enforcement, revealed how completely Jennifer misunderstood both the nature of my work and the competitive selection process required to become a Secret Service agent. What made the family dynamics particularly frustrating was the complete impossibility of correcting their misconceptions without violating operational security and potentially compromising presidential protection protocols. I couldn't explain that Secret Service agents underwent more rigorous background investigations than most private sector employees, that protective operations required split-second decision-making under life-threatening pressure, or that my work involved coordinating with intelligence agencies and international security services on matters that affected global political stability. The classification requirements that protected presidential security also made my professional achievements invisible to family members who measured success through visible markers like business revenue, client recognition, and public professional accomplishments. The annual Collins family reunion had been planned for over a year, with Jennifer appointing herself as the primary organizer while treating my participation as helpful but secondary to her own leadership and vision for the event. "Sarah, I know your government schedule is pretty flexible, so I'm counting on you to handle some of the logistical details," Jennifer announced during one of our planning calls, apparently believing that federal employment involved less demanding schedules than private business responsibilities. The assumption that my work schedule was flexible revealed Jennifer's ignorance about Secret Service operations, which required 24/7 availability, sudden travel for protective assignments, and the kind of scheduling unpredictability that made personal planning extremely difficult. "Jennifer, my work schedule is actually quite demanding," I replied carefully, trying to correct her misconception without revealing specific information about protective operations. I might have last-minute travel requirements that could affect my reunion attendance. "Sarah, government workers always say their jobs are demanding, but you don't have client deadlines, revenue pressures, or the kind of performance accountability that private sector jobs require," she responded dismissively, clearly viewing my scheduling concerns as typical government employee complaints about routine work. The reunion planning process became another opportunity for Jennifer to demonstrate her superior organizational skills while treating my contributions as the kind of basic assistance that anyone could provide. "I'm handling all the complex coordination, venue selection, catering arrangements, entertainment planning, and budget management," she explained to family members, emphasizing her business expertise while delegating simpler tasks to relatives who lacked her professional capabilities. "Sarah can help with things like transportation coordination and basic logistics," she continued, apparently believing that government work had prepared me for routine organizational tasks, but not the sophisticated planning required for major family events. The irony was that my Secret Service experience included coordinating complex multi-agency operations, managing logistics for presidential travel, and planning security operations that involved hundreds of personnel and millions of dollars in resources. But I couldn't explain that protective operations required exactly the kind of detailed planning, contingency preparation, and real-time coordination that would make family reunion logistics seem relatively simple by comparison. The venue Jennifer selected was a resort in the mountains of Colorado, chosen partly for its scenic beauty, but also because the location would allow her to showcase her event planning capabilities to extended family members, who would be impressed by the sophisticated arrangements she'd negotiated. I wanted a location that would reflect our family's success and provide the kind of memorable experience that people will talk about for years, Jennifer explained, clearly viewing the reunion as an opportunity to demonstrate her professional competence and social status. The guest list included over 200 family members from across the country, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and their families, creating a significant event that would require the kind of coordination and security awareness that Jennifer had no experience managing. Sarah, since you work in government security, maybe you can handle parking arrangements and make sure we don't have any problems with unauthorized people trying to attend, Jennifer suggested, apparently believing that my federal security experience was primarily relevant for routine crowd control rather than sophisticated threat assessment and protection operations. What Jennifer didn't understand was that Secret Service agents were trained to recognize security vulnerabilities, assess potential threats, and coordinate with local law enforcement in ways that could be valuable for large family gatherings. But she viewed my expertise as applicable only to minor logistical concerns. The most challenging aspect of reunion planning was managing my own attendance while maintaining operational security and being available for potential presidential protection assignments that could require immediate deployment. Jennifer, I want to attend the reunion, but I might need to leave suddenly if work requirements come up, I explained, trying to prepare her for the possibility that Secret Service duties could interrupt family celebrations. Sarah, what kind of government emergency could be so important that you'd have to leave a family reunion? She asked with obvious skepticism, apparently unable to imagine federal work that involved genuine emergency response or critical national security responsibilities. There are federal security situations that require immediate response, I replied vaguely, unable to explain that presidential protection took priority over all personal commitments and could require deployment with minutes of notice. Government workers always make their jobs sound more important than they really are, Jennifer responded dismissively. But unless there's some kind of national disaster, surely your supervisors understand that family commitments are important too. The conversation revealed Jennifer's complete ignorance about federal law enforcement priorities and the reality that protecting the president required absolute availability regardless of personal or family obligations. But what Jennifer couldn't have predicted was that the government emergency she was mocking would actually materialize during our family reunion in a way that would demonstrate exactly why Secret Service work required the kind of dedication and priority she couldn't understand or appreciate. The family reunion began exactly as Jennifer had planned, a weekend celebration showcasing her organizational abilities while reinforcing her position as the family's most successful and accomplished daughter. The mountain resort provided a beautiful backdrop for what Jennifer clearly intended to be a demonstration of her professional competence and social superiority. I want everyone to understand how much work went into planning this reunion, Jennifer announced during the welcome reception, addressing the 200-plus family members who'd traveled from across the country to attend. This kind of event requires real business skills and the ability to coordinate complex logistics that not everyone can handle effectively. The opening presentation was designed to establish Jennifer's expertise while subtly diminishing other family members' contributions, particularly mine, which she characterized as basic government employee assistance, rather than meaningful planning participation. Sarah helped with some simple coordination tasks, she mentioned briefly, which was perfect for her skill set since government work involves following established procedures rather than creative problem-solving. The characterization of my contributions as simple coordination tasks was particularly galling to someone whose daily work included coordinating presidential security with multiple federal agencies, international security services, and local law enforcement across constantly changing operational environments. But Jennifer's systematic humiliation campaign was just beginning. Throughout the first day of the reunion, she made sure to emphasize the differences between her entrepreneurial success and my routine government employment to every family member and guest who would listen. Sarah chose job security over professional achievement, she explained to our cousins during lunch, speaking about my career choices, as if they reflected personality limitations rather than commitment to public service. Government jobs are perfect for people who prefer predictability and structure instead of the challenges that come with building real success. The extended family, who knew even less about my actual work than my immediate family, accepted Jennifer's characterizations as accurate assessments of our respective career paths and professional achievements. Jennifer has built something impressive with her business, our uncle agreed, clearly influenced by Jennifer's presentation of our career differences. It takes real courage and ability to succeed as an entrepreneur, especially compared to the security of government employment. The comparison was designed to establish Jennifer as the courageous, ambitious daughter while portraying me as someone who'd chosen the safe, unimpressive path of federal bureaucracy. But Jennifer's most aggressive attack came during the Saturday evening dinner, when she requested permission to make a toast that turned into a systematic public humiliation of my career and life choices. "I want to toast my sister Sarah," Jennifer announced after claiming the microphone during the formal dinner. As Sarah's younger sister, I've watched her find her path in government service, and I want everyone to understand how different our approaches to professional success have been. The setup was clearly designed to contrast her achievements with my supposedly lesser accomplishments while positioning herself as the family member who'd chosen ambition over security. Sarah chose federal employment because she values stability and predictable routines over the challenges and uncertainties of competitive business environments, Jennifer continued, her voice carrying the tone of someone explaining personality differences to an interested audience. "While I've built my career on taking risks, adapting to changing markets, and creating value through innovation and hard work, Sarah found fulfillment in government work that provides steady employment without the pressures of client satisfaction, revenue generation, or performance accountability." The contrast was designed to make my career sound like welfare for people who couldn't handle real professional challenges, while her business success represented genuine achievement and valuable social contribution. "I admire people who are willing to do necessary government work," she concluded, "even though it doesn't offer the same opportunities for growth, recognition, or meaningful achievement that private sector careers provide." The condescending admiration for my willingness to do supposedly mundane government work was the final insult, suggesting that my career was a form of public service charity rather than elite federal law enforcement. The family members in attendance were applauding politely, clearly accepting Jennifer's assessment of our career differences, without understanding that her characterization of my work was completely inaccurate. I was sitting at the head table, maintaining professional composure while enduring public humiliation based on my sister's complete ignorance about what Secret Service work actually involved. But what Jennifer didn't know was that her boring government worker, sister's professional responsibilities, were about to be demonstrated in the most dramatic and public way possible, when the President of the United States would personally thank me for recent service that had literally saved his life. The sound of approaching aircraft would soon interrupt Jennifer's celebration of entrepreneurial superiority and family hierarchy, bringing with it a revelation that would permanently destroy her assumptions about government service and the relative importance of our respective professional achievements. The sound began as a distant rumble that most family members initially dismissed as routine air traffic or mountain weather, but my Secret Service training immediately identified the distinctive signature of approaching military aircraft operating in formation. I was sitting at our family dinner table, still processing Jennifer's public humiliation of my routine government career, when the familiar sound of Air Force escort jets triggered every professional instinct I'd developed through years of presidential protection operations. The rumble grew louder and more distinct, causing family members to pause their conversations and look toward the windows with curiosity about what sounded like unusually heavy air traffic in the remote mountain resort area. "That sounds like military planes," our cousin Mark observed, stepping outside onto the resort's main patio to get a better view of whatever aircraft were approaching our location. Other family members followed, creating a gathering on the outdoor terrace, as the sound of jet engines grew louder and more obviously coordinated, suggesting official rather than routine air traffic. I remained seated, my phone already buzzing with secure notifications that confirmed what I already suspected. The president's travel schedule had been modified to include an unannounced stop at our family reunion location. The first jets that became visible were the F-16 escort fighters that always preceded Air Force One during presidential travel, flying in precise formation that immediately identified this as an official presidential movement rather than routine military air traffic. "Those are Air Force fighters," said my Uncle Jim, a military veteran who recognized the aircraft types and formation patterns. "That's not normal air traffic, that's some kind of official government operation." Family members were gathering on the resort patio, pointing at the approaching aircraft and speculating about what kind of government business could bring military jets to their remote mountain family reunion location. Jennifer was among those watching the sky with obvious confusion, apparently unable to understand why federal aircraft would be operating in the area during our family celebration. "Sarah, do you know anything about this?" she asked, apparently remembering that I worked in government security and might have information about federal operations. "I might have some idea," I replied carefully, checking my secure phone for operational updates and coordination instructions from my Secret Service team. The distinctive blue and white Boeing VC-25A that served as Air Force One appeared on the horizon moments later, flanked by its fighter escort, and followed by the support aircraft that always accompanied presidential travel operations. The sight of Air Force One approaching our family reunion location created immediate excitement and confusion among the 200-plus family members, who were witnessing something they'd never expected to see outside of television news coverage. "That's Air Force One," someone shouted, as the presidential aircraft became clearly identifiable and began its approach to the resort's private airstrip. "The president is coming here." Jennifer asked in disbelief, clearly unable to understand why the President of the United States would be making an unscheduled stop at our family gathering. I was already moving toward the resort's security office to coordinate with my advance team and ensure that presidential protection protocols could be implemented smoothly despite the unofficial nature of this visit. "Sarah, where are you going?" Jennifer called after me, apparently still not understanding that the approaching presidential aircraft had anything to do with her sister's routine government job. "I need to handle some security coordination," I replied, pulling out my official Secret Service credentials and radio equipment that I'd kept concealed throughout the family reunion. The transformation from family reunion attendee to Secret Service agent in operational mode was immediate and complete, as I began coordinating with my protection team for the President's unexpected arrival. "Eagle is inbound, ETA 5 minutes, came the voice of my deputy team leader through my secure radio. "Resort security is being briefed, perimeter is being established, and advance team is in position." The professional language and operational protocols were overheard by family members who were beginning to understand that their family reunion was about to become the site of an official presidential visit. "Sarah, what's happening?" our father asked, clearly confused by my sudden transformation from quiet family reunion attendee to someone coordinating what appeared to be a major federal security operation. "Dad, I need you and everyone else to follow the instructions of the agents who are about to arrive," I replied, my voice carrying the authority that came with Secret Service command responsibility. "This is an official presidential visit, and there are security protocols that everyone needs to follow for their own safety. Air Force One was now clearly visible as it approached the resort's airstrip, followed by the support aircraft that carried additional security personnel, communication equipment, and the logistical support required for any presidential travel operation. Jennifer was staring at me with growing comprehension that her sister's boring government job might be significantly more important and complex than she'd understood or publicly acknowledged. "Sarah, are you part of this?" she asked, her voice reflecting the first hints of understanding that my presence at our family reunion might not be coincidental to the president's unexpected arrival. "Jennifer, I'm the Assistant Director of the Secret Service and head of the Presidential Protection Detail," I replied, using the official announcement that would soon be made to all family members present. "The President is here to personally thank me for recent service, and you're about to understand exactly what my routine government job actually involves." The revelation that her sister held one of the highest positions in federal law enforcement was hitting Jennifer with the force of complete surprise, but the full impact wouldn't be felt until the President himself stepped off Air Force One to participate in our family celebration. Air Force One touched down on the resort's private airstrip with the precision that characterized all presidential travel operations, followed immediately by the coordinated deployment of Secret Service personnel, presidential support staff, and the security protocols that transformed our family reunion into an official presidential event. The sight of the President's aircraft at our remote mountain family gathering was surreal enough, but watching the full presidential travel operation deploy at a location where Jennifer had just finished mocking my routine government career created a level of dramatic irony that was almost overwhelming. "Ladies and gentlemen," announced Agent Rodriguez, my deputy team leader, addressing the 200-plus family members who were witnessing presidential security operations for the first time, "the President of the United States is about to join your family celebration. Please remain in your current locations while security personnel establish proper protocols." The announcement that the President was actually joining our family reunion, not just making a brief official stop, sent waves of excitement and disbelief through the extended family members who were trying to process what they were witnessing. Jennifer was standing near me, her face cycling through emotions as she began to grasp that her sister's boring desk job was somehow connected to the President's personal decision to interrupt his schedule to attend our family gathering. "Sarah, I don't understand," she whispered, clearly overwhelmed by the transformation of our reunion into what appeared to be an official state event. "How is the President? Why is he?" "Jennifer, the President is here because 3 weeks ago, I took a bullet meant for him during an assassination attempt in Denver," I explained quietly, providing context that would help her understand why this visit was personal rather than routine official business. The revelation that I'd recently been shot while protecting the President, information that couldn't be shared during the classified aftermath of the assassination attempt, was hitting Jennifer with the force of complete shock. "You were shot?" she asked, her voice barely audible, as she processed the reality that her sister had literally put her life on the line to protect the President while she'd been dismissing my work as routine government employment. The presidential party was now disembarking from Air Force One, with the President himself visible, as he stepped off the aircraft followed by his senior staff and additional Secret Service personnel. President Harrison was approaching our family gathering with the kind of informal, but dignified bearing that characterized his public appearances. But there was something personal in his expression that suggested this visit was motivated by genuine gratitude rather than political calculation. "Agent Collins," the President said as he approached me, extending his hand with obvious warmth and respect, "I wanted to personally thank you in front of your family for your service and sacrifice during the Denver incident." The formal recognition from the President in front of 200 family members was creating exactly the kind of dramatic revelation that would permanently change how my family understood my career and achievements. "Mr. President, it's an honor to have you join our family reunion," I replied with the professional courtesy that characterized all interactions between Secret Service personnel and the President, but there was genuine warmth in the exchange that reflected our shared experience during the assassination attempt. Agent Collins, I want everyone here to understand that your daughter and sister is one of the finest Secret Service agents in our nation's history, the President announced, addressing my family members directly. 3 weeks ago, she literally saved my life by placing herself between me and an assassin's bullet, and her quick thinking and professional courage prevented what could have been a national tragedy. The President's public recognition of my service was comprehensive and emotionally powerful, providing details about the assassination attempt and my response that helped family members understand both the danger involved in my work and the significance of my professional achievements. Agent Collins has served as the head of my personal protection detail for 2 years, the President continued, and her leadership, expertise, and dedication to duty represent everything that makes the Secret Service the finest protective organization in the world. Jennifer was listening to this presidential recognition with obvious shock, finally understanding that her sister, whom she just finished publicly mocking as a routine government employee, was actually responsible for protecting the most important person in the world. I also want to recognize Agent Collins's family for the sacrifices they've made to support her service, the President added, addressing my parents and extended family directly. Secret Service families endure long separations, constant security concerns, and the knowledge that their loved ones face daily dangers that most Americans never have to consider. The recognition of family sacrifice was particularly meaningful because it acknowledged that my work affected everyone present, even though they'd been ignorant about the actual nature and importance of my responsibilities. Mr. President, our family is honored by your presence and grateful for your recognition of Sarah's service, my father replied, clearly overwhelmed by the presidential visit, but rising to the occasion with appropriate dignity and respect. But the most significant moment came when the President addressed Jennifer directly, apparently having been briefed about the family dynamics and her recent public comments about my career. Ms. Collins, I understand you've been questioning the value and importance of your sister's government service, the President said with the kind of gentle but firm tone he used when addressing misconceptions about federal employees and public service. Your sister represents the finest traditions of American public service, and her work protecting democratic institutions and ensuring continuity of government is essential to everything we value about American democracy. The presidential rebuke was delivered with perfect diplomatic courtesy, but the message was unmistakably clear. Jennifer's dismissive attitude toward my career had been based on ignorance that the President himself was correcting in front of our entire extended family. The remainder of the President's visit became an educational experience for my family as they witnessed firsthand the respect, authority, and professional recognition accorded to senior Secret Service personnel by the highest levels of government leadership. President Harrison spent over an hour at our family reunion, speaking with relatives, sharing stories about my professional service, and helping everyone present understand the significance and demands of presidential protection work. Agent Collins coordinates security operations that involve dozens of federal agencies, hundreds of personnel, and millions of dollars in resources, the President explained to my cousins during one conversation. Her daily responsibilities include threat assessment, tactical planning, and life-or-death decision-making that requires the kind of expertise and judgment that very few people possess. The detailed description of my actual work responsibilities was helping family members understand that my government job involved leadership, strategy, and professional challenges that exceeded most private sector careers. The assassination attempt in Denver was stopped because Agent Collins recognized a threat that other security personnel missed, positioned herself to intercept the attack, and maintained protective protocols even while wounded, the President continued, providing specifics about my recent service that demonstrated both the danger and the professional excellence involved in Secret Service work. Jennifer was listening to these revelations with obvious discomfort, clearly recognizing that her public dismissal of my career had been not only wrong, but embarrassingly ignorant in front of family members who were now learning the truth about my professional achievements. Sarah, I had no idea, she said during a private moment when we stepped away from the presidential conversation. I'm sorry for everything I said about your work. I didn't understand what you actually did or how important it was. The apology was genuine, but also clearly motivated by embarrassment about her public humiliation of someone the president had just honored as one of the finest agents in Secret Service history. Jennifer, the classification requirements of my work meant I couldn't correct your misconceptions or explain what my job actually involved, I replied, trying to be generous while also ensuring she understood that her ignorance had created lasting damage to family relationships. But you could have told me you were important, she protested, apparently still not grasping that Secret Service agents were trained to maintain operational security even with family members. Jennifer, I couldn't reveal my position or responsibilities without compromising presidential security, I explained. Secret Service personnel don't discuss their work, their assignments, or their achievements because that information could be used by people who want to harm the president. The security education was helping Jennifer understand that my discretion about work had been professional requirement rather than family secretiveness or false modesty about my achievements. But the most meaningful recognition came from our parents, who approached the president directly to express their gratitude for his visit and their newfound pride in my career. Mr. President, we owe you an apology and our daughter an even bigger apology, our father said with the kind of formal dignity that the situation required. We've been ignorant about Sarah's service and failed to recognize achievements that clearly deserve our pride and support. Dr. Collins, your daughter's service requires family sacrifices that most Americans never have to make, the president replied with understanding. Secret Service families often can't know about the dangers their loved ones face, or the importance of the work they do. That secrecy is necessary for security, but it makes recognition and appreciation much more difficult. The presidential recognition of family challenges was helping my parents understand that their ignorance about my career had been partly created by the security requirements rather than entirely due to their own failure to ask appropriate questions or show sufficient interest. As the president's visit concluded, he made one final announcement that would ensure lasting recognition for my service and permanent change in how my family understood government careers. Agent Collins, I'm pleased to inform you that you're being promoted to Director of the Secret Service, effective immediately, the President announced, providing news that I'd learned just hours before but hadn't had opportunity to share with family members. The promotion to the highest position in the Secret Service was recognition for my recent service, but also acknowledgement of leadership capabilities that my family had never understood or appreciated. Director Collins will be responsible for protecting not just me, but all Secret Service protectees, and for leading an organization that safeguards American democracy, the President continued, ensuring that everyone present understood the scope of responsibility and authority represented by my new position. Jennifer was listening to the presidential announcement with obvious shock, finally grasping that her sister had just been appointed to lead one of the most important federal law enforcement agencies in the country. Sarah, you're going to be the director of the Secret Service, she asked, apparently still processing that the family member she'd been mocking was now one of the highest-ranking federal law enforcement officials in the United States. The presidential visit concluded with photographs, personal conversations between the president and family members, and expressions of gratitude for the warm reception our family had provided during his unexpected visit. As Air Force One departed, taking with it the security personnel and official protocol that had transformed our family reunion into a presidential event, everyone present understood that they'd witnessed something unprecedented and historically significant. But more importantly, the presidential visit had permanently changed how my family understood government service, federal law enforcement, and the daughter and sister they'd underestimated for years while celebrating achievements that paled in comparison to protecting the President of the United States. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my office at Secret Service headquarters in Washington, D.C., preparing for a security briefing with the President while reflecting on how dramatically the presidential visit to our family reunion had transformed both my family relationships and my own career trajectory. The promotion to Director of the Secret Service had brought with it responsibilities that extended far beyond presidential protection to include oversight of financial crimes investigation, cybersecurity operations, and coordination with intelligence agencies on matters affecting national security. Director Collins, your leadership of the service has enhanced both protective operations and investigative capabilities in ways that strengthen national security, said Deputy Director Martinez during our weekly operations briefing. Your experience in presidential protection combined with your strategic vision for the agency has created improvements in every aspect of our mission. The professional recognition was meaningful, but the most satisfying transformation had been in my family relationships, where the presidential visit had created understanding and respect that should have existed throughout my career. Jennifer's business consulting firm had pivoted to include government relations and federal security consulting, partly because her association with the Director of the Secret Service had enhanced her credibility with clients who worked with federal agencies. Sarah, I want you to know that learning about your real career has changed how I think about government service and public sector work, Jennifer told me during one of our monthly sister dinners. I've been educating my clients about the complexity and importance of federal law enforcement, and I'm proud to be the sister of someone who serves our country at the highest levels. Her transformation from dismissive sister to proud advocate had been complete and genuine, including public speaking about the importance of supporting federal employees and recognizing the sacrifices made by government families. I realize now that my comments about government workers choosing security over achievement were not only wrong, but revealed ignorance about public service that I'm embarrassed about, she acknowledged during a recent conversation. Your career represents exactly the kind of achievement and service that deserves recognition and respect. My parents had become active supporters of law enforcement and federal employee organizations, attending events and contributing to causes that supported government workers and their families. We want to make up for years of not understanding or celebrating Sarah's career, my mother explained during a Secret Service family event where they were honored as distinguished family members of senior federal leadership. Learning about federal law enforcement and the sacrifices made by agents' families has given us tremendous respect for government service. The family education about federal careers had extended to our extended family, with relatives regularly sharing pride in having a family member who led one of the nation's most important security agencies. Having Director Collins as a family member has taught us all about the importance and complexity of federal service, said my uncle during a recent family gathering. Sarah's career represents achievements that exceed anything our family could have imagined, and we are proud to be related to someone who protects our democratic institutions. But the most meaningful recognition came from the President himself, who continued to acknowledge my service during public events and official ceremonies that highlighted the importance of Secret Service work. Director Collins represents everything that makes the Secret Service the finest protective organization in the world, the President announced during a recent law enforcement awards ceremony. Her courage, expertise, and leadership ensure that American democracy is protected by agents who represent the highest standards of federal service. The presidential recognition had created lasting media attention and public awareness of Secret Service work that helped Americans understand the complexity and importance of federal protective operations. My relationship with Jennifer had evolved into genuine partnership, with her business expertise complementing my government experience in ways that benefited both our careers and our family relationships. Sarah, I'm grateful that your career taught me about government service and the importance of supporting federal employees, Jennifer said during my recent recognition as Federal Employee of the Year. Your achievements have educated our entire family about public service and made us all better citizens. The reunion that had begun with Jennifer's public humiliation of my routine government job had become the foundation story for our family's transformation from ignorance about federal service to pride in government careers and recognition of public service achievements. The presidential visit to our family reunion was the most important educational experience our family has ever had, my father reflected during a recent conversation. Learning about Sarah's real work and seeing presidential recognition of her service helped us understand that government careers can represent the highest levels of professional achievement and national importance. The most rewarding aspect of my continued service, as Secret Service Director, has been mentoring young agents and helping federal families navigate the challenges of classified work and the difficulty of maintaining personal relationships when professional achievements must remain largely invisible. Director Collins's example shows that federal service can reach the highest levels of leadership while maintaining strong family relationships, said Agent Thompson, one of the junior agents I mentor. Her family's transformation from ignorance to advocacy demonstrates that civilian understanding and support are possible with education and dramatic demonstration. The mentoring work extends to helping federal families understand that classification requirements and operational security don't have to prevent family pride and recognition, but they do require patience and faith that achievements will eventually be acknowledged appropriately. The family reunion that revealed my true career to relatives who'd underestimated government service has become an annual tradition, with the president making appearances when his schedule allows and family members competing to show their support for federal employees and law enforcement personnel. Have you ever been underestimated by family members who made assumptions about your career without understanding what you actually did? Sometimes the people closest to us dismiss our achievements because they can't see the full scope of our work, especially when professional requirements prevent us from sharing details about our responsibilities. What would you have done in my situation when Jennifer was publicly mocking your boring government job at the family reunion? Would you have found a way to hint at your real position, or would you have endured the humiliation like I did until the truth revealed itself? I am curious about your thoughts on family respect, professional secrecy, and the balance between operational security and personal dignity. The hardest part of this experience wasn't Jennifer's public mockery. It was years of family gatherings where my federal service was treated as a consolation prize compared to her entrepreneurial success. Sometimes family members need dramatic demonstrations to understand that government service can represent the highest levels of professional achievement and national importance. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and share your own experiences with family members who underestimated your career or made assumptions about your work without understanding its true nature. Have you ever had to maintain professional secrecy while family members dismissed what they thought you did? Your stories help others dealing with similar challenges. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life federal service stories, family dynamics involving classified careers, and the complex relationships that develop when your most important achievements must remain largely invisible to the people you love most. Ring that notification bell for updates about government service recognition and learning to value public service careers. Please share this video with anyone who needs to hear that government service can represent elite professional achievement that exceeds private sector success in importance and complexity. Sometimes the most powerful vindication comes when the person you serve personally thanks you in front of the people who never understood your worth. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, your professional achievements have value independent of family recognition, but when that recognition finally comes, it makes years of underappreciation worth the wait. Federal service, in particular, represents sacrifice and dedication that deserves respect from families who benefit from that service. Until next time, keep serving with honor regardless of whether family members understand your work. Keep believing in the importance of your mission even when it remains invisible. And keep hoping that someday the people who matter most will witness the recognition you've earned. Sometimes the greatest family moments happen when Air Force One lands to prove your worth to everyone who doubted it.